Yo, what's going on, lifers? Jake Thomas here, hosting another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid, coming to you by way of the studio here in Austin, Texas. And today's guest has come from across the planet to be here with us today, hailing by way of South Africa as well as the United Kingdom. He is the director of the new and trending and highly popular across several different countries, #1 documentary across all platforms, Animal. I'll let him tell you more about that. But welcome to the show, Mr. Josh Feldman.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's an honor to be here. Really, I've been watching you for a long time.
It's good to have you too, man.
Yeah,
likewise.
So really good to be here. Thank you.
Same. So you've got the animal shirt on, you've got the animal hat on.
Yes, sir.
You've been the guy as far as in doing all the PR work and having to talk and go to all the handshaking and cheek kissing and premieres. And I got to go to one with you, which was amazing. Tell us about it, man. You're world famous now. I mean, you're probably famous before already, but now you're really got the light on you.
Wow. Okay. Where do we start? How much time we got?
Go for it.
So, there are so many things to there are so many moving parts to get to this point of realizing that a movie like Animal needed to be made, first of all. So maybe, let's start with how the conversation began between our executive producer, Vinny Langem, and I. So, the short story is that Vinny and I had worked together on Shark Tank in South Africa in 2016, 2017. So he was one of the sharks of the South African series of Shark Tank, and I was the director. And we worked so well together. You know when you just connect. When you create a project, when you're working on a project, and there are certain people that you just connect with, right? You know, you don't always need to just explain it. You just vibe and you connect. And he'd moved his family to the States a number of years ago before that. And because of our connection, he was keen on doing something together, and we weren't sure what at the time. So the conversation continued over a number of years, all through COVID, right up until a point in 2023 when I lost my brother. During the end part of 2022, going into 2023, I had an older brother, 10 years older, who was a child affected by the primal drug in the UK. So in the late 60s, my mom suffered from terrible morning sickness, projectile, and she went to the doctor, 19 years old. And, what do you don't question your doctor, 19 years old,
Sure.
Late 60s, right? It's just, can you help me with my morning sickness? Here's a bunch of pills. Here you go. And so my brother was born with a number of ailments as a result of this drug. And he battled all his life. So just to name the sort of predominant one, he was born with curvature of the spine. Massive curvature of the spine, which then over years, as he hit puberty and went into his mid-teens, he really started to kind of curve over into himself, which affected so many things: thyroid, organs, everything. The most incredible human being, right? Empath, deep empath, and had this kind of deep need to understand everybody he encountered. Okay, like everybody. And he would create art for people around him. So he suffered from learning difficulties, and the way that he expressed himself and connected was he was an artist. So he drew these pictures for people. So fast forward to 2022, end of 2022, 2023, he caught a really bad infection under his chin, which became so toxic and so poisonous, filtered throughout his body. And he just reached a point, end of 2022, 2023, where he had enough. Been in and out of hospitals, went into a hospital, 2023, and decided not to take the oxygen to assist his breathing. And he called it. Like, that was it. And so that affected me deeply, as you know, how trauma kind of stacks and compounds, and that was kind of the top of the trauma well for me. You know,
Yeah,
it's like
imagine
the real peak of it.
Yeah.
And I then myself went on a healing journey, and I stopped wanting to make we could say frivolous shows. So I'd been making reality shows most of my life. Okay, so I had done 3 seasons of Survivor in South Africa, Shark Tank, as I mentioned. I executive produced The Voice in Nigeria, and a number of other big format reality and game shows. I also developed them as well, so created them, and then we sold them around the world.
Cool.
Which was fun. But I just reached a point where I was like, okay, I mean, it's been career-wise, this has been amazing. You know, I'd also done close to 200 documentaries in the entertainment space, mostly music and movies. You know, making ofs, profiles of people, genre. So documentaries around musical genres around Africa.
Cool.
And just reached a point, having been through this healing journey, of which my study of Bikram yoga was very much a part, where I wanted to move into a space of making things that have some kind of real impact. So either they're going to contribute towards elevating humanity in some way, and or towards healing humanity in some way. And so Vinny and I, as I mentioned, had been talking about, you know, doing something together for a while. And he was like, why don't you come over to the States? Okay, let's talk about it. So I did, beginning of sort of April, May, end of February, March 2023 for his birthday. And we started having some chats. And then a few months later, he came to me and said, you know, I've just been on the carnivore diet. And so has my wife. Okay. And the rest of my family, you know, he's got quite a large family, have predominantly suffered from prediabetes or type 2 diabetes in some way or other ailments. And he and his family had the most profound impact, saw the most profound impact going on the carnivore diet. It was like, nobody's really made anything that really kind of catapults this into the kind of the consciousness of humanity in the world. So
zeitgeist.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you know, there's you and Dr. Anthony Chafee and Dr. Sean Baker, and you know, you got these incredible podcasts. But he and I sat down and really kind of thought about it and said, there's no movie, there's no kind of concentrated, cohesive film that binds it all together. And we were like, okay, cool. Why don't we think about making a film about this? And so I said, let me do some research. Let me go into carnivore diet myself, which I did for 4 months, right? And I myself, even though I wasn't, you know, sick in any way that I know of, you know, maybe a bit crazy in the head sometimes, you know what I mean? But nothing, no particular ailments other than a bit of eczema on the back of my arms. And what I thought was a lifelong kind of shaving rash under my chin as well, also turned out to be eczema. Gone. Okay. And then the most important thing, or the first and most obvious thing was that that lifting of what feels like a weight on your brain, you know, in your mind, that kind of pressure that we become so used to, we feel like that's normal, right?
Yeah.
Until we like really start questioning, what does it mean to be like optimally healthy in every single way as a human being. So we really sit down with ourselves and ask that question of ourselves. And so it was like 4 or 5 days, and I felt this tremendous weightlessness, man. I felt space. There was like space that I'd never kind of felt before, other than in yoga. But even when I started my yoga journey, which created incredible space, there was room for more. And so that was the most profound effect. And then about 2 weeks later, the eczema went away. Eczema, back of the arms. And whilst I still had a bit of shaving rash, this had flared up.
And these were lifelong
underneath.
things you'd had?
Yeah,
eczema on the
you
arms,
just live with it.
rash?
Yeah, you just live with it, right? You just, you know, you go about your life and you're like, cool, well, I'm going to have this for the rest of my life. you don't think about it anymore. Just shut it down.
And you wake up Spider-Man and you can see and you don't need glasses anymore.
Exactly. My ability to think and be creative just was off the charts, man. Yeah. Okay, so then I started putting down a structure for what this film should look like and feel like, what I thought it should be. And increasingly in my conversations with people, what I found is that there's kind of this movement, or this kind of want, this need to go back to ourselves, to find ourselves again. So this ancient primal aspect of ourselves that we've kind of pushed down or forgotten, that became the kind of strongest kind of base for me to write Animal. And so, and that was a combination of the research I was doing, things I was reading, the conversations I was having as I'd come to the States and started going to conferences. The first one was Hack Your Health here in Austin, where I met Zane, who created so many conversations with everybody that appears in our film, you too. Yeah. And that's really the kind of beginning. That was the foundation for it all. And then, documentaries ebb and flow. As you film something, it opens up something else that you might have read about, but you hadn't really thought about deeply. And I love the beauty of making films like this is that it just unlocks so much, And we were just so fortunate to kind of be in this world, in this universe of people like you, Steak and Butter Girl, Angela, Meat-Based Medium, all of you guys who live this every single day, and who are kind of striving to help sort of, remove the veil from everyone else in the world, right?
Yep.
And that's what it became. So, just so much gratitude, and I feel so incredibly grateful and humbled to have, first of all, been embraced by this community, because it takes trust, right? When you're making a film like this, especially in America, especially in the
There's
States.
a little bit of red tape.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Right. It is building trust. Okay. It is showing the people that you want in your film that what you mean, what you're trying to achieve, is real and true and authentic. Yeah.
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 Yeah. You're gonna have big critics.
Yeah, well, they're starting to come at us now that the film's been out for a couple of weeks.
It's like being a rock band. You made it big in the UK, you made it big in Asia. It's like, well, you got to get on the billboard in the States, to really make that statement. So, like, being here it's a big deal, man.
Yeah,
you know
thank
that.
you,
I know you know that.
You. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks very much. Yeah. So that's it. Now it's out. It within I think it was 24 hours became the number one documentary film on Apple. Yeah, which is incredible. And then as we released internationally, became the number one documentary film in South Africa. Interesting because, me being from South Africa, Vinny being from South Africa, I had my number one animation team as well. All the graphics that you see in Animal, they're South Africans.
Nice.
South African guys. That's a company called Sinister Studios.
Nice.
I worked very closely with over the years. And our editor, Matthew, my number one editor, Matthew, all South Africans. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. So we kind of, it's just been the most, films are collaborations. They're about collaborations, whether they're scripted or not scripted. You have to have, there's so many contributors. There are so many people that you got to have all the right ingredients to make it that thing that's special. Yeah. And we just had that. So
it's amazing.
Yeah.
God, man. And the reasons, the whys behind that, from starting that story off about your brother, like, God, my heart goes out to you.
Thank you.
Like, obviously you probably feel him still every day. And like, no doubt his memorial is part of this. I'm sure there was a huge burst of energy or inspiration that had to have come from that for you to get into this, and was probably one of the catalysts, I would say. It sounds like, from what you're kind of telling about, like it kind of sparked your new reason or newfound reason, like to say, I need to make a change, and I look for different things. I want to make something more substantive, like you said, something more lasting, not what you were doing before, but something of value to give value to the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it was having to remember something like that from a loved one. That's deep, man. It's real deal. And then your own battles with, like you said, eczema or this or that, or the under the chin, and then finding clarity amidst the writing and producing, and being able to find ideas. Like you sound like Christian Bale when he was preparing for The Machinist.
Yeah.
He talked a lot about fasting and going into his own mental caves and finding himself able to be so hungry for knowledge and searching for things and able to retain information so well because he was so broadly open within his mind. It sounds like you kind of captured a lot of that too.
Yeah, everything that you said was a part of it. So the first point, yes, I see my brother in everything. You know, in everything, he's everywhere. You know, and I think once you, certainly people who've suffered a trauma like that, who've lost a loved one, you know, whatever massive trauma you've experienced in your life, it opens up that kind of just absolute appreciation for living, right? For just being here.
Yeah. Like
that's it. Like just seeing the absolute beauty in everything and everyone. So I think that, you know, we're speaking about trauma. It is a huge catalyst to bring people to that point. So, you know, I obviously drew on that, and infused that into the film in every aspect that I possibly could, so that people could feel it. Because, again, you know, the other thing I'd said to Vinny when we spoke about making this is, if I'm going to direct it, if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to write and direct it, it needs to look and sound and feel different to everything else that's out there. Because the only way that people are going to really kind of take note is if it sits differently to the kind of maelstrom of all other documentaries. Because the bulk of documentaries, it could be argued, they especially ones that are coming out fast and furiously at the moment, they kind of look and feel the same. You know, they have a particular kind of format and structure, and they just kind of, you're like, okay, cool, that's interesting. You know, maybe you take a fact out of it that sort of resonated with you, and you remember it for a week. You know, that's it, and you speak about it at the dinner table with your family and friends, maybe. But that's it. It doesn't last. Okay, and so I wanted to create something,
just a bumper sticker.
Exactly, yeah. And so for people to remember something, they have to feel it. It has to strike some real emotional chord. And the only way you can achieve that is by really drawing on, you know, experience. You know, you draw on what's in your soul, right? And so you know, it started with Vinny's profound change for himself and his family. And that was then, as I started writing it, me drawing on my family experience too, and then turning it into something that we really hope resonates with people around the world. And I think it is. I think we're getting some really good feedback, some really good comments, testimonials. I mean, the kind of flurry of input from people on the socials, because again, you know, it's not mainstream.
Sure.
Okay, mainstream media won't look at it.
Yeah.
So it's got to be done on the socials. Has just been incredible how this thing changes your life.
Yeah. I love how you touched on also like the fact that you took on the diet yourself for 4 months as like, you know, R&D or just, you know, self-discovery, whatever. But it's like, you had to. You couldn't. How could you write it without it, you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
For me, it was steak and eggs. Predominantly steak, butter, eggs.
What was it like for you? You know, I mean, you guys are big meat eaters.
Yeah. So, I'd always had a lot of potatoes. So my kind of growing up, my childhood was split between South Africa and the UK. And so family dinners were very much there was always a big portion of meat for the most part. Until my mother later, when I was in my teens, my mother turned vegetarian, vegan vegetarian, and she kind of tried to edge me on that way. Hers was, it's also an interesting story because my mom is actually really sick in the UK. She lives in Nottingham in the UK. She is absolute vegan, and she went that way predominantly for ideological reasons. She felt deeply for how badly animals are treated. Okay. And again, her exposure at that point when she made that decision was obviously, big corporation based, big ag based, and what she was seeing on the news, it made her feel sick, and so you can understand it from that perspective. What we've tried to do in Animal is show people that we agree with that, with how badly animals are treated, okay, with big ag, and that we need to go back to, the understanding of shaking your rancher's hand. Thank you, Texas Slim.
Yeah,
right, for everything that Texas Slim is doing.
Yeah,
and all the ranchers, all the farmers around the world.
Tyler says the same thing. Tyler McCann says the same thing.
Exactly.
Best thing you can do is get to know your rancher, get to know your producer, know your farmer.
Yeah. And so, in chapter 7 of the film, the last part of the film, that's where we talk about, and it was very important to do this because of those fundamentally ideological reasons, to bring people to a place of understanding of how we can, be one with the land and the animals, consuming animals in a healthy way, understanding the circle of life again.
Yeah.
Because we've lost that, right?
Sure.
We've lost that, and that's what it is, and that's why it was so important for me as well to kind of start the film that way. So that's why we have the Native American Indian voice at the beginning, and the quote at the beginning. And again, thank you to Tyler McCann, who was instrumental in helping us achieve that, because he connected us to the Arapaho people in Wyoming, and that also took a lot of trust.
Sure. Yeah.
It took a lot of trust to help them to understand that what we're doing is pure, and so huge, thank you to everybody there who helped us make this happen, man. It was incredible. That was the dream, was to open up like that. Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. So anyway, so to get back to the point of what we were talking about is to ultimately bring people back to a place of remembering, right? That's why we talk about the Great Awakening.
Sure.
The great remembering of who we are and where we come from, and that with the big ag situation that we've kind of lost our way. And so, fundamentally, we know what's good for us, right? It's things that you talk about all the time. Like fundamentally, we know if we really take the time to listen to our body, to listen to ourselves, right? We can heal ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We need strong voices, coaches who understand how to bring the best out of people, how to unlock it, right? Which is what you're doing, and what many other coaches are doing, is trying to help people to find that place, to go back to that place and unlock it. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so cool you say that, because you're saying this from a person that's done and experienced it themselves.
Right.
And it's like one of those things that you literally can't understand it until you feel it, and then that feeling will become your understanding, irrespective of what you may have thought before, the preconceived notions or skepticism, paranoia, fear even of like, this, it can't be right. The feeling supersedes all that. It'll offset all that, because it's such an innate and intrinsic sense of identity
Yeah.
and understanding, because it's a connection or reconnection, I should say, with the land. Like you said, returning to that familiarity and knowing where we come from and how things are raised and grown and naturally occurring. But that all this other stuff has kind of like detached us from that and distanced us from that. And this one simple thing is a way to kind of mitigate all that and bring you right back to it, to feeling that way.
Yeah.
So by removing a lot of those obstacles and variables and just eating these few things, gaining a sense of appreciation or interest, curiosity into where does this come from? Okay, why is it fed that way, as opposed you're thinking differently just doing that, as opposed to just going to the market, going to the store, whatever, buying things, without thought, because it's so normal, because it's so available, it's so prevalent. We live in a world of abundance and, innumerable resources and luxury. And so to take this step back and kind of think more primitively is weird. It's super weird, but it's a thing that any one of us in the world essentially can do at any time and say, you know what, 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever, 4 months, you can literally take that little bit of time and find all of this insight and I say newfound, it's kind of a paradox, regain this knowledge and awareness and understanding. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And it's something that no one would assume a diet would do for you per se. Yeah. Right. And I think that's one of the real unspoken aspects about the diet. It's like, as great as the diet is, it's really a metaphor.
Yeah.
It's really this, keystone element to what all these other things you're going to find about yourself inside there, what you're going to learn about the world around you, the culture that you come from, maybe the culture that came before you. And it makes you just almost more of a more worldly person, dare I say.
Yeah, totally, completely. I think the first point that you made was about fear, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna reference my mom again, because Dr. Chafee, we were having a chat, and I explained to him what my mom was going through. He's like, I'd love to have a chat with your mom.
Mm.
Okay, so my mom's 70. It's going to be 76 on the 10th of July.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah, thank you. So it's my son, actually.
Happy birthday.
He's going to be 14.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I've got a grandmother.
It's a busy day.
A grandmother who's passed on my dad's side, also 10th of July.
All right.
Incredible, right?
I'm just a couple weeks after.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Okay,
yeah.
well, happy birthday to
Thank
that,
you.
man. Awesome. So fear. So I said to my mom, I'm making this film, and I've met these incredible people. Okay, and my mom suffering from two primary conditions. One is ME, and the other one is they call it Condition X in the UK, and it's from the way that I understand it is it's a vein that is tightly wrapped around an artery. Mm. Okay, and she was healthy all her life, by the way. Okay, she was a sportswoman all her life. She owned a gym for women in South Africa, Shapes Gym for Women, and so a huge part of her life was dedicated towards fitness herself and with other people. And so when this combination of ailments hit her in her mid-60s, she was like, but I've been fit and healthy my whole life. Again, I just want to park the fact that she went vegetarian. She went vegetarian first and then ultimately vegan. And this would have been early 90s. Okay.
Sure.
So fit and healthy from a physical perspective, diet, vegetarian, then vegan. And so when these conditions really started to manifest in her mid-60s, she was like, but I don't understand. I'm vegetarian. I'm vegan. I've been working my body my whole life, got a lot of sun because she obviously, she moved from the UK to South Africa, spent many, many years in South Africa raising me and my brother before he passed. And so she thought she'd done it right. And then whammo, boom, mid-60s. Smashed. And she still struggles with how this has happened to her. She just cannot get her head around it, And so I said to her, met all these doctors, met all these incredible people, and the one, Dr. Chafee, has offered to have a chat with you. And, as much as I've tried, that element of fear. She's like, I've got my doctor in the UK.
Yeah.
Okay, this is what she tells me. She's on all these meds, and there's why would I chat to anybody else? Why would I chat to, I've got I've got this routine now, and pills are going, and I'm stuck in my system.
Yep.
And I was like, but do you want to heal? This is my mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think people are just innately fearful and so trapped.
Yeah.
In what they're told should be the structure of health, right?
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult to kind of break people out of that when they're so stuck in it.
Yeah. Yo, what's up, guys? Today's episode is brought to you by Kuhdoo. That's Kuhdoo. Let's be real. Most soaps on the market are loaded with garbage. Artificial fragrances, endocrine disruptors, and harsh detergents that leave your skin feeling dry and wrecked. You're not just washing dirt off. You're absorbing that junk straight into your bloodstream. And that's why I use Kuhdoo soap. Real handcrafted soap made from quality ingredients that actually nourish your skin. No nonsense, no fillers, just clean, effective soap that does the job the right way. If you're still using cheap, chemical-laced soap, it's time to level up. Ditch the toxins, upgrade your hygiene, and treat your skin like it deserves. Go to Kuhdoo.com. Again, that's Kuhdoo. Use the discount code LifeLikeJake at checkout for an exclusive discount. Because real men, we don't lather up with trash. Lather on, yo.
And so that was also part of the reason for making Animal, is just showcasing the world that you should be living, you should be questioning. Just question. There's no harm in questioning, right?
Yeah.
There's no harm in just raising the question. And you go to your doctor and say, okay, cool. So you're prescribing this. Can you please help me to understand exactly what's in it? And help me to understand precisely what is it going to do in my body?
Yeah.
People don't do that, right? They just generally don't. And so questioning, just don't.
No.
And so
I actually had this conversation with another physician the other day. We were talking about the trust that is always just assumed knowledge with a doctor, a medical doctor especially. You walk into his or her office and you're having a physical examination. Hey, how's it going, Josh? Good to see you. All right, go ahead and drop your trousers.
Yeah.
You don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Remove your blouse, whatever. Like, you don't even think about it. It's just doctor authority. Sure, this is what we do here, And so there's so much assumed trust or given trust, granted trust, not necessarily earned from us, that it doesn't matter what they're saying, what they're telling us to do. And that's not to demonize or dismiss all medical authorities, never. But we, as the recipients, as the patients of that, the movie, to me, I'm so glad you brought that up, is about questioning. It's not about trying to force a narrative. It's presenting information, trying to raise awareness, and then you, as the viewer, make the informed decision on yourself based on that knowledge.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I'm so glad that you put it in that way. Thank you. Because as the film is now coming into its third week, the conversations are really starting to get heated. And so it's very important. It's very important to understand that we are not denouncing veganism or vegetarianism in any way, or any diet, in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
To your point, if you are vegan and it works for you and you feel optimally healthy in your life,
God bless.
Stick with that. I think that's an incredible thing. Go right ahead, and exactly, God bless you. But if there's something still ailing you, are you just going to keep doing the same thing, or are you going to question it and then figure out how to make that change?
Yeah,
that's it. It's as simple as that.
It's crazy, like you come from a country, especially the years of life that you've had. You've seen, civil war, political injustice, indifference, racial tension and inequality, ups and downs, polar opposites of socioeconomics and whatnot. And same in the States in some ways, one case or another. But it's like, I've never seen such divisiveness amongst people globally now than I have when it comes to diets.
Really?
More so than with religion, more so than with politics, more so than with, pro-military, this or that, like baseball teams, even, Yankees, Red Sox, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the dietary tribalism now that exists is, man, it's vicious. And like that fear that you're talking about, whether it's your mother, my mother before she experimented and tried the diet, friends of mine that ask about me, people who don't know, or anyone, the fear and the attachment, the identity that is there with whatever diet or way of life or way of thinking they subscribe to. Because your mother, for example, she's had years, decades of invested time. My mother, my parents, my friends, lifetimes, some of them longer than I've been alive, and it's like, who am I to influence or like try to say, hey, why don't you try this out? And it's like, dude, I've got 50 years eating and living and thinking this way. And all of a sudden you want me to like throw left-handed?
Yeah.
And I'm a righty?
Yeah.
I'm saying, no, I'm just saying, just try it out. You might be better at it than with the other hand. And so I understand a lot of people's fear. Yeah. I get it, but I'm so surprised that it is that thick. And it took me to do this myself for the years that I did to really see it over and over and over again. Like, damn, dude, we are really, really connected with identity viscerally to how we eat. Like our diets are, they are familial influence, they're social influence, they're religiously influenced, they're politically influenced, like every kind of adverbial connotation you can put on that of what we subscribe to is part of our food, man.
Yeah.
So to detach from that, it's like, that's just a hard chain to break. It's very, very, very difficult.
It's so interesting that you say that again, and because yoga is a huge part of my life, right? So going back to my healing journey, when my brother passed, I'd been for traditional therapy, and I found that none of that, the psychiatry was working for me anymore. So I always sort of trusted in my body and what it was telling me, and I found deep meditation in moving my body, right? Like I felt the most connected to everything, to source. Let's say to source, the most connected to source when I'm moving my body. And having come from decades of martial arts, and so the karate world, starting karate when I was a child.
Nice.
And so, yeah, thank you. And so karate through the years, as a form of not just self-defense, but meditation, the meditative aspects of any martial arts. But I found it deeply in karate. And then I had a break from it, and going through all of this, I'd found yoga a few years before, and just it became such an integral part of my life. And so I'd shifted my sort of attention on healing into how can I do this in my body. And I really found that in the sort of hot yoga space, so hot 26+2, the Bikram, the traditional hatha yoga space, right? And so, when I talk about reconnecting with ourselves, a lot of that was because I found that in myself. So, tried the carnivore diet, 4 months, felt incredible in combination with, the ways in which I was moving energy around in my body. So I think, you got to understand those two things, right?
Sure.
Yeah. But I wanted to speak about that one point. So, in the yoga community, if you understand obviously the lineages of yoga and, Hinduism and Buddhism, obviously, that part of the world, their sort of fundamental tenets are do no harm to any living creature. And so that is a very interesting conversation. And again, there are so many moving parts to this and so many aspects to it. How healthy are Buddhist people? Look at their way of life. They have an incredible philosophy on life. I'd love for us to have some chats around how they eat.
Of course.
In sort of combination with how they live and
movement,
connect.
silence, celibacy, exclusion, isolation. Deepest forms of introspection by way of abstinence, essentially, or omission.
Yeah, exactly.
Appreciation, respect, gratitude, reverence.
All of it feeds into their fabric, the fabric of their existence, right?
Yeah. Selflessness.
Minimalism.
I mean, it's very cool.
All
very,
there.
very cool. Absolutely.
So there are just so many cultures and so many fundamental aspects that when we talk about being optimally healthy, living a good, pure, happy, joyful life, and I think that's an important aspect right there. Is what does it mean to live a joyful life? So how can if you're not feeling good in your body, right, and you're constantly ailed, you have constant ailments, it's very difficult. It's very, very difficult to feel joyful.
Yes.
Right. So surely you would want to explore, ask questions, explore, find every possible way to feel good in this vessel, in this body of yours, in order to experience the absolute joy that being alive offers. And one of the things I wanted to chat to you about was we'd had a conversation around your experience in the military, and what you eat in that world.
Sure.
Okay, because your healing journey is incredible, and is such a source of inspiration to me and all of us who made this film too, man.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so I wanted to ask you because we didn't have time to kind of get into all of it. How did you? When did you make that change? When did you make that shift from what you're eating in the military to an understanding of to an understanding of you not being optimally healthy?
Then in service, I was a garbage disposal, essentially. A lot of it was just eat what we have, eat what's around, eat what's free, eat what's cheap, and a lot of that was MREs, or the meals ready to eat, the rations that are, prepared and packaged. I never thought twice about it. Back then, I was just getting calories in. I knew I needed energy. I knew this is what was available. So this
and everyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Everybody.
Yeah.
The chow hall was the same. I mean, I will say I never ate poorly. Some people might say the food was terrible here and there. Even at sea on ship, I never complained about the food in my time in service. My 4 years, I was never angry, upset, or displeased with the food that we had. Even in the MREs, I was always able to trade or barter or even find, even the little bottles of Tabasco sauce that come in the bags. It was like, man, this is a home run to me.
Yeah.
Right. So little things. I never felt adverse effects, I should say. I never could tell. Maybe my awareness wasn't there then. Maybe I wasn't as in tune with my body then. I definitely wasn't. But my emotional intelligence to appreciate what negatives were there, I wasn't having. I didn't have. I was still drinking a lot then, so I just didn't have that kind of connection and intuition, or sensitive amount of intuition.
That's part of the culture, right? The boys get together and I'm not
going to say everybody does, because we had people that were of certain religious sects, whether there's a Mormon or a Muslim or whoever, that did not drink. They did not subscribe to other things. They didn't curse, didn't watch any of the pornography, and we're all passing around bottles and hard drives, and it's a whole different world, But so not everybody. But for the most part, yes, it is part of our culture. It is part of who we are. We're eating however we want because we're working out a lot and we're going on missions and we're sweating. We're just constantly burning calories. So you don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
It's also, back then, it was a luxury to have the consideration of the time to think about that. It's like, dude, I don't have time to be counting macros.
Yeah.
It's like, we got other more important shit. Like, just eat it while you got it. Like, I'm not even heating the meals up half the time, because it's like, there's one time where I did try to heat up a meal with the little bag heaters that come in the MREs. While I was waiting for the meal to heat up, we got a call to pack up and we got to go now. And I didn't get to eat. And I was like, well, I'm never doing that again. So I never heated another meal after that. Hot, cold, didn't matter. I never heated another one. So there's just this give and take of like what matters more. And at the time, it's just consumption as opposed to like consideration for particulars and preferences. And it's funny, when you talk about the MREs And meals then, and even now, like people talking about how bad the food is and how much of it is processed, and it is. But when it's somebody who's on maybe a last leg of a mission, or they're tired, or maybe they're in a situation where they don't know if they're coming home, or they're not sure if they're going to come back. I've never been faced with something like that, but like I can empathize for someone that maybe has. You might want a bag of Skittles.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
I might want that over jerky.
Yeah.
You know, for somebody that might not be here tomorrow, like it sounds great to us.
Yeah.
And these comfortable chairs and, you know, abundance around us. But like when you're getting shot at or sweating your ass off or freezing to death, you might not want that jerky or meat stick. And I love them to death. But like, man, Skittles in that situation might be the stimulus you need to stay alive. Yeah. Might be the who knows what to keep going, you know? So making it so absolutist of like, that's wrong, this is right, is definitely what I've come to see and realize, like over the years now of getting into the experiments and whatnot, like you said, and through recovery and journey. Because when I got out, I was definitely disconnected. I was very detached, and I had lost that identity of being a Marine. And I had fallen victim to consumption and abuse and use of drugs and alcohol, because that's what made me feel able to escape. And because I couldn't reconnect, I couldn't go back. So I was upset and displeased with where I was, what I was doing. And that was a way for me to get away from it. But then when I started to find new things and feeling good by way of exercising differently, eating differently was a big one, drinking less, using less
When did
stuff.
you make that shift though?
Oh,
when did you realize?
2017.
What happened?
2017.
Was there a catalyst?
Definitely. I have to give credit to past girlfriends, number one, because along the way there, from I'd say roughly 2013 to 2017, different girls that I dated and was in love with gave me different nuggets.
Okay.
Try this instead of that. Drink this milk instead of that. Eat, care more about these foods and the sourcing and sustainability and learning, things to me about like regenerative agriculture. I had no idea about at the time, but just really having a more conscious, effort towards how I eat and what I consumed and what I would stay away from. And it made a difference. Little by little, I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. But then in 2016, I started dating a vegetarian. She and I became vegan together. And that was my first real, blimp into like really being picky and conscious about what I eat, because of much of which we were omitting and abstaining from.
Right.
Never had like negative feelings about that. Like I was never doing it for environment or for animals or for morals. It was my girlfriend was doing it. Sure, babe. Like I'll do it too. I don't care. And it worked for me. It was fine. Looking back now, once I got into, let's say, strict carnivore in 2020, I was like, wow, I'm just eating, beef, butter, steak, and eggs. Or maybe some days just steaks, or maybe some days just bacon and eggs, or maybe some days just ground beef, like single foods, maybe one or two other things. And thinking like, wow, I feel this good. I've got great energy. My mood has improved. My sleep has improved. Da, 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 da. And it's taken this very short list of things to do that. Yeah. As opposed to, as a vegan vegetarian, I've got lots of pill bottles, lots of capsules and tinctures and droppers and powders and processed things and,
yes,
supplements, because
so much brain space.
I literally had a massive, it was a 7 by 5 pill thing. So 7 rows for 7 days by 5 boxes per day for all my vitamins. So it was literally a 7 by 5 pill box, right? And I would take throughout the day, each one of those 5 boxes had between 3 and sometimes 10 pills per box, right? So I'm taking all these things, and they're different vitamins, amino acids, different minerals, whatever, things that weren't naturally existing or occurring in the foods that I was eating, because they don't naturally exist or occur in the plant or otherwise vegan world. Yeah. And that really made me scratch my head, because I was in my like mid-20s, late 20s, and I was like...
And spending a fortune.
Tons of money.
Yeah.
What? I don't need this, man. Like, I'm too healthy to have all. I feel like an old person. I was like, I'm not in my 90s. Like here's my pill box. I would travel and have to make sure I bring that with me.
Yeah.
Does it go and carry
like
on?
a child, right?
Yes, like dude. Yeah. Again,
and
like the attachment to it. I was like, this is weird. So fast forward into 2020, I've gotten a massive hold on recovery, and having gotten into health and fitness and bodybuilding and fitness modeling, the ships sailed for drinking and using, and because I realized then I couldn't do both together and be successful at it at least. And then in 2020, I was like, all right, let's really give this a run. A friend of mine encouraged me to watch this, read this, and listen to this, podcasts, episodes on YouTube, bits of knowledge, PDFs, whatever. I was like, okay, cool. I started reading, I started watching, I started listening, and then I was like, man, these people are just eating meat. This is crazy. I was vegan before this, right? Just before this, I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And people are like, wow, you went from being vegan right to carnivore? I was like, yeah. But again, I didn't have emotional attachment. I didn't have ethical, moral, obligation to the environment, to the animals, which is bullshit, by the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't fool yourselves, folks. But so I went right into it. Just, beef, butter, bacon, and eggs, basically. I even stopped drinking coffee at the time, that was probably the most interesting thing for me because it was such a habit breaker. I still made coffee for my mother every morning because I just moved back to the States from Mexico City. It was 2020. Things were closing there. I had to come home. So it was a perfect time because I had a good controlled environment. But in that first 30 days, Josh, is where I really learned about I needed to be broken. And I did not realize that. I did not know that. I heard Mark Bell talking about this the other day, talking about how the carnivore diet broke him. And I really connected with that. It was the first time somebody said something about that in a way that really hit home with me, that he needed to be broken and it helped to break him. It broke me. I needed to be broken. And I didn't realize it, whether it was about substance or use or woe is me, fucking character identity, attachment from the military, or I didn't get my way, I didn't get to fight my war, whatever. This helped break me. All the other stuff that happened about the mood and feeling this and that, I was like, yeah, this is cool. That was great. And that was at the beginning, but not until I really got into it. I was like, man, this is about deep introspection and realizing how much stuff is a distraction and how much around us is influenced to entertain and to aid and escape, right? And so that's why I think the diet can be difficult to people because it is about feeling. It really promotes feeling. And if you don't feel good, you're going to feel that. If you feel good, you're going to feel better. But it's going to bring to light a lot of things. Similarly to sobriety. People talk about sobriety, what's the most difficult part about sobriety? Being sober, because you feel life. Life is sobering. Reality is sobering. You can't escape now with booze and powder and stuff in the arms. You can't escape. You have to feel it as it is. When it's bad, it's it fucking sucks. And when it's good, it's amazing. But you're going to feel that. Similarly with this, when you remove all these things and you go, wow, I feel this good with just this stuff? Shit. But I'm not thinking about all these other things now. And what about I want? Well, of course, now we're talking about desire and pleasure as opposed to utility. And not to say that consumption and eating shouldn't be pleasurable and desirable. Absolutely. But we are so perverted in our sense of what's most important that we're driven much more often by desire and pleasure and the want as opposed to the need and the use and the purpose of food and sustenance, right? When we all say, I'm hungry. For 99% of people on the planet, they've never been hungry. Really wanted to eat? Yeah, sure. Been starving for 99%? Probably not, but really wanted to eat it. So I never thought a diet would show me that. I was just sure, 30 days. How bad can it be? Let's see what I can find. And 30 days turned into 4 years. Of just being strict carnivore, beef, butter, bacon, eggs, seafood, raw dairy. And that was it for 4 years, man, because I couldn't unargue it. I kept trying to be, I'm always a scientist, find the reason, make the hypothesis null or void or flawed.
Yeah.
And I couldn't unsolve it. I couldn't disprove it, right? The job of a scientist is not to prove law, but it's to constantly test the hypothesis in efforts to disprove it. And I kept trying to disprove it.
Yeah.
And I kept failing, which is a good thing.
Oh, man.
That's kind of
mad respect.
I needed to, but more than anything, looking back on those 4 years, it was that I needed to be broken.
Yeah.
And this helped to break me.
Wow, that's incredible, man. Thank you for telling me everything because we'd had time to kind of touch on bits and pieces.
Yeah,
but I didn't have the full story, man. Mad respect.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can say it in a short amount of time.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So that aspect of feeling that you spoke about, and how that links to just being fearful, right? We are as a species generally, largely, fearful of just feeling the feelings.
Yes.
As you say, carnivore really makes you feel as something, as you should.
Yes.
As you should feel whatever it is you're experiencing.
Yes.
If you're feeling sad, feel sad, right? Just feel it and observe it.
Yeah. This is dopamine. This is
let it happen. This exactly. Happy, absolute joy. It's so sad, but that there are just, I think that we live in a world where so few, we're so trapped, and there are so many layers to our existence now, that to really kind of take the time to understand what it means to be absolutely joyful has been largely lost.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, one of the absolutely fundamentally most beautiful things about purifying your system, right? Okay, through carnivore or whichever diet, works for you.
Through fasting, through whatever,
the fasting that you speak about, that you do with your life so beautifully, is purifying this physical thing, this thing that is made of flesh, so that you can experience everything. Yeah,
man, it's weird, and like when you first start to do that, it feels weird to not have your quote support system by way of other foods, other things, drink, whatever, like, because everything in our lives is about consumption. If we're sad, we're going to eat. If we're celebrating, we're going to eat. If we're bored, we're going to eat. If we're traveling, we're going to eat. If we're after this, like, hey, Josh, you want to get a meal? Like, every occasion calls for it, good or bad. That's our default thing to do, as opposed to, what if we're just being?
Exactly.
Well, that's weird. That's taboo. Not only does it seem weird, it feels weird.
Yeah.
We can't just hang out. Like, we need to go eat or something, right? Like, we can't just go for a walk and be friends. So there's so much disconnect because of just the norming of modern society that we are part of now, that it's very difficult to be a human being in the modern world.
Absolutely is. And then the appreciation for then having something like a cookie.
Oh yeah.
Once you've been through that,
awareness more than anything.
Because my son reminded me of that.
This.
Yeah. My son reminded me of that. So I was I was deep into writing, and I think we started filming. Yeah, we just started filming during that time, and I was deep into what you should eat and what you shouldn't eat.
Yeah.
That word should, word should is a very dangerous word, right? Okay. And I was like, and he likes Oreos. So, he was onto his second Oreo cookie Saturday morning.
They're probably different there than ours.
In South Africa,
I bet you they are.
Yeah.
I bet you they're cleaner.
Yeah, cleaner, but it's still
right.
Processed.
I bet they're better than ours, though.
Yeah.
For sure, man. Oh, God. You got maybe less than 10 ingredients in those there, and we've probably got 30.
Probably. Probably. And so, I just saw him biting into taking a bite of his second Oreo cookie, and I was like, do you know what's in that thing? And he looks up at me. He's 13 years old, and he looks up and he says, Dad, 13, right? 13. Dad, you know what? You really only get to live once. Come on.
Don't YOLO me while I'm trying to impress good information and influence on you. You're right, but like wrong context.
Trying to make this film.
Yeah.
Trying to make this film that's hopefully going to have an impact on people around the world. Here's my son, boom.
I had Keisha's daughter the other day. She was trying to get her to brush her teeth. I think she's 8. And she's like, you need to brush your teeth or wash your hair or something like that. And she responds with, no, Mom, my body, my choice. I was like,
8.
Yeah. I was like, God bless. Good on you.
Oh, wow.
Wrong timing, though. Like, maybe later on down in life, you can pick it with that one, but like, not there.
Yeah.
Like, damn it, But yeah, man, that's a true statement as far as in the should and not demonizing the world and choices that people want to make. I mean, God bless, do what makes you happy, live and be free. But, and I see this with substance, with gambling, with sex, with alcohol, with whatever, let's quote, traditional vices people have now. That awareness that you have and brings a newfound appreciation to where someone says once they stop drinking for 30 days or stop changing what they're eating and change their diets or they change their sleeping habits and they feel what that feels like, that makes you can't unfeel it.
Yeah.
And now you're like, okay, the next time I go for that drink, man, do I really want to disrupt how I'm feeling right now? The next time I go for the Oreo, after having known what not having, I don't want to just bullseye Oreos, but whatever food or whatever thing it is that maybe disrupts you or puts your mood off, puts your energy off, puts your sleep off, makes you break out with eczema, makes you have a rash on the chin. Like, it'll make you quite, dare I say, you knowing if you've got a causal relationship to a certain thing that you eat or drink or consume, you're going to think twice about your eczema on your elbow or the thing on your chin. You know what I mean? And it's the same thing with me. Like, I know what will give me inflammation. I know what will make me feel hungover in the form of food. And I won't do it because I don't want to feel like that. And then if I've got a case of the fuckets, I consciously choose that as opposed to just mindlessly. Like, this is about the biggest thing you can teach anybody is mindful versus mindless. And this is kind of what the whole MO of Sick, Scared, and Stupid is about, is that so much of it, the cause of this has been mindless, acknowledgement, mindless participation, mindless just followship by us. Big brother did it, okay, maybe. But like, we followed, we adhered,
we let it happen.
We let it happen,
exactly.
right? So like just to be mindful, instead of being mindless, and like, you know, whether it's 1 or 2 Oreos, but to have the emotional intelligence to say, I'm doing this even with the knowledge, and I don't do it all the time, but I'm being mindful about my decision today.
Yeah, fuck. How good does it feel not to have that 4th, 5th drink, right? 3rd, 4th, 5th drink, and wake up the next day, you know, 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and go for a run, you know, first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
You know, to be aware, to have the awareness to make that choice, to be able to go out the next day, first thing in the morning, and experience that joy.
Yeah.
Just incredible. The other thing I wanted to how much time we got?
You're good. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you is, so when we were making Animal, there was another veteran that we met in Wyoming who specifically asked me if we're gonna look at the food system that occurs in the military. Not necessarily just in America, but around the world. But obviously, being an American vet, he was drawing attention to that aspect. I was like, I don't think I'll be able to fit it into this film right now. And you know, the film is almost 90 minutes. If I'd done that, we'd be looking at 2 hours. It's, it's just that's not possible.
Sure,
people are not going to watch it. And so I wanted to speak to you about what attention has been drawn to that aspect. You know, who's talking about it?
Oh, great question. I'm
what's
glad,
happening there? Yeah.
I'm glad he asked you that. I'm trying to remember if I got to meet him or not, but I know we talked about this the other day watching the movie. Philip Meese, the founder and owner of the Carnivore Bar, he was a former combat medic in the Army himself, and the whole reason behind him creating the company, the Carnivore Bar, was because he had a lot of disruptive issues eating and consuming MREs, the meals ready to eat, especially on deployment. You know, we're supposed to only eat those for a few weeks at a time. I think it says 21 days. Yeah. But for many of us, months on end, right? And he, along with some other people there in his cohort, had just a lot of disruptive issues within their stomachs, within their GI tract, and throughout their bodies, how they felt, what was, how they were moving, because they were exposed to these things for a prolonged amount of time. Okay. And so his whole idea behind the Carnivore Bar was having something of clean, simple ingredients that was shelf stable, and that was also a high nutrient density and high caloric density as well, to where it could substitute, maybe not completely, but at least be something to have in the packs, in the bags, to be able to go to, as opposed to the things that are, 500 ingredient list long. Yeah. Something that's just, beef, tallow, and salt. It's pretty great. Beef, tallow, salt, and honey. He's got a couple of other new flavors now, but Philip is probably one of the people I would go to first, as far as in who to ask, who to talk to, who's got the best finger on the pulse of what's going on there with the military. But I would hope, and I use that word optimistically, but also with caution, that there's so much political pressure now, in a good way, especially with the new administration and key people in that administration, to where I guarantee the military is going to feel those effects, or they're going to feel that pressure. And there's going to be some type of an audit or some type of an improvement program or plan based on everything else that's being pulled off the shelves, or, different companies that are having to revise and change ingredients lists. Like that, I guarantee the military is not going to get escaped or absolved from that. So is it going to be tomorrow? I don't know. But I would imagine that within these 4 years of the current administration, there's going to be some type of magnifying glass that's going to go on there and say, what are we feeding our troops? Can we do this better? I hope so. But based on the speed of which everything else seems to be coming out about go after that, take this off the shelf, change that, tell that company to change. Like, it's very impressive. There's a lot of that going on. So Philip would be the first guy I would call, but I'm sure he's already sitting there kind of waiting, thinking like that domino is going to fall. But sure. I feel good about it, man. And it's definitely something obviously close to my heart because, I want our people fed well and fueled right. And, I guess time is going to tell. If there's something that I could get into, I certainly would. If there's a place I can advocate, speak on, or try to promote, I'll definitely do it. I would definitely be keen to do that.
Okay, that's something we should talk about. Definitely.
Perfect.
Next question.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to get a Texas tattoo,
oh boy.
Where are we going?
Oh God, I could show you where to go for sure. That's easy. What to get the tattoo of?
Yeah, well, it's definitely going to be a Longhorn.
Okay,
I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about.
I don't know where. We'll figure that out. Right?
Well, dude, where tell everybody before we get you out of here where we can see Animal and give us the details.
Yeah, sure. So, number one on the Apple charts at the moment. Okay, so yeah, which is incredible. So so we were number one within 24 hours, and now there's kind of a battle for between 1 and 2. So yeah, we're kind of flipping and flopping 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2 at the moment.
Streams in.
So yeah, so stream it. You can also find it on Prime.
Nice. In
the States. Nice. And then internationally, so different territories, different regions, different accessibility. English-speaking territories, predominantly Apple at the moment. We will have it on Prime in probably the next week or so.
Nice.
And then we're going to have it on a completely separate individual site as well for internationally.
Got it.
Okay, we're going to release those details. It's going to be in the next sort of 24, 48 hours.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Good.
And then we're translating it into different languages too.
Amazing.
And that's happening in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Good. Pushing.
Yeah. So we're just getting it out there as much as we can, man. So for the US, the best way to watch it is Apple and Prime.
Apple Prime.
Yeah.
Roger. Well, dude, thank you so much for being here today, and congratulations, Josh. What a milestone thing going on, dude. I mean, number one, the movie, bringing people together, bringing worlds together. From your story, hearing about your brother, your mother, your connection with Vinny, obviously even your son, talking about his things and choices in life, and then the people you've gotten to meet and put this movie together. It sounds like it's been a real life changer to you too. Yeah, and to meet you as well, Jake. So it's been, as I say, the most incredible journey. You've been a part of that. Thanks, man.
So, big ups to you and respect for everything that you advocate for on a daily basis. You live this, man.
Thank you.
You live this. And so when people watch this film and they connect with the people in this film, it's really important to understand that they're not just, stepping onto a stage and saying it for an hour.
Yeah.
And the community get this. Obviously, everybody in the carnivore community understand that, but people around the rest of the world may not. Yeah, sure. So thank you, man. Thanks, Josh. It was awesome. Big time. Cheers. Well, guys, to everybody else, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. And because we got a documentarian in the house, and because of one that was just launched yesterday, I've got to give a shout out to a friend, Ocean Ramsey, for the Shark Whisperer that just premiered on Netflix. Ocean, this is for you, and kind of to remind everybody the importance of sharks in the world and them being a keystone species in the oceanic environment, and that without them, the entire ocean worlds and all life within the waters would collapse as we know it, and that nearly 100 million sharks are killed by humans every single year. 100 million. So go check out the Shark Whisperer. Go look up more on Ocean Ramsey. You can follow her on Instagram and all other channels. But today's day was about Josh, the movie Animal. We're grateful to have him here on the show. And for everybody else out there, again, this is another episode of Sick, Scared, and Stupid. I'm your host, Jake Thomas. We'll see you next time.